Good morning, everyone. We are so delighted to be here for our webinar now on communication and language development. Had to think there for a minute which webinar it is. This is our fourth now with the SOC team, and we're just delighted to be able to bring these webinars with you. So I'm just going to give it a wee second or two now for people to get signed in. To get them in through the door. Very different type of door these days, isn't it? Just not quite the same as being in person, but we're looking forward to the day when we're back out there and meeting is proper again. Okay, I know you have set aside an hour for these webinars, so we'll go ahead and I'll introduce the team and then we'll get started. So I'm going to talk to you about communication, an overview, give you an overview of communication. My name is Mary Holmes and I'm the project coordinator with the SOC team. Then Dr. Pauline McClenaghan is going to talk to us about the ages and stages of language development. And Sharleen then will be looking at activities that promote good communication and language development in the home. And I will give you a quick wee overview on screen time and what is appropriate for the different ages, especially in younger children. And following that, we will have Lynn Patterson, who will be following on from her baby massage now on to reflexology for babies. Another wonderful treat for you. And then we'll finish up with questions and answers with Dr. Pauline McClenaghan. So I will get started now. I am going to share my screen, and as I said, I will give you the overview now with of communication. And I will just share that now. So if someone could give me a wee thumbs up and just let me know that you can see the screen there. Happy days, brilliant. Okay, I'm just wondering, are you beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel now? Is this pandemic tunnel about to open out and we can start getting back to normality? I think that most of us are at a stage now that we just can't wait to get back. I know a few weeks ago there, whenever the schools all went back, we could hear the collective sigh of all parents, just whew, children are back and finally back into the classroom, a bit of normality for our children. So whenever we do think in the pandemic, I think sometimes we do look at the negatives, but I do think for a lot of families, there has been some benefits. It has brought a lot of families closer together. You know, we've had time for meals together, long relaxed breakfasts, nice lunches together, and happier dinner times. We've had lots of quality time. And that also, another thing has happened for a lot of mums, especially that I've been talking to, they've had a bit of time for themselves. There's no running out the door to get to X, Y, and Z. For example, the runs in the morning time to get children to school, the 2 o'clock run, the 3 o'clock run, all the extracurricular activity. There's been a little bit of extra help around the house. Children are helpful when you allow them to be helpful. New hobbies have been developed and so on. Now, I'm not naive here. As the months went on, there definitely became a lot more difficulties and there have been negatives. The negatives was that sense of 24/7, Groundhog Day, juggling with work, children and home. A lot of people started to find a bit of a strain on their relationships within their social bubbles. I know I certainly wanted a pin to burst my bubble quite a few times. The fear of the virus and is it ever going to end? And there definitely has been a rise in stress and anxiety levels, both in parents and in our children. Positive ways in dealing with all of these aspects really lies on how we behave and communicate with each other on a daily basis. And as adults, it really much stems from us. So as I said, I'm going to give you an overall picture of communication and how this impacts on our family life. Pauline then will provide the ages and stages of language development in children. So communication. is about sharing messages through speech, tone of voice, body language, facial expressions, signals, gestures, and the use of different materials, media, and symbols. Communication can be verbal or non-verbal, or more than often a combination of both. There are different types of communication. These are the main types, and these are the ones that we're going to be focusing on for the purpose of this webinar. So we have our speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And our non-verbal communication is our facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language. If I was to ask you which of these do you think are the most important, if you want to even pop a wee answer into the chat box, you can do now. If you just want to think, is it speaking, is it listening, reading, writing, or is it non-verbal communication? If you want to pop something into the chat box, do a little bit. Okay, well, I can't actually see my chat box. Isn't that just typical? Well, what I'm going to say is all are important, but I would pay particular attention to listening and our non-verbal communication. So we're going to look at both of those. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is, how do we actually listen? There are 4 types of listening. We have active listening, which is giving your undivided attention to the speaker. Empathic listening, showing understanding of how the speaker is feeling. Comprehensive listening, understanding what the speaker is saying. And finally, critical listening, which means you're listening for meaning. So take a moment and think about these different types of listening skills. For example, when you're talking to a friend, are you using active listening, empathic listening, comprehensive listening, or critical listening? When talking to a work colleague, same question. What type of listening skills are you using? And finally, I'm going to ask you now, when you're talking to your child, do you use active listening, empathic listening, comprehensive, or critical listening? Or do you think there are barriers to actually listening to our children in everyday life? Whenever I ask that question, I always think on the give me a minute. Okay, so whenever we're trying to get work done and children are there and they're asking for different things or looking for different things, we just normally respond with give me a minute. Doing homework, schoolwork, younger children, older children, whenever they're looking for attention again, give me a minute. The constant demands and needs of children, I love that picture there because it actually reflects a lot of time during the pandemic, how I was feeling, just hands on head, give me a minute, you know. And then finally, household chores. Now there you can see there's quite a list, from cooking, cleaning, ironing, laundry, all the normal stuff that we are trying to get through on a daily basis, which rings out that give me a minute. We're always thinking, give me a minute. So just to go back to the exact same question that I put to you regarding your friends or work colleagues, I just want to put in the exact same question again. The only difference is I've substituted the word speaker with the words your child. And I want you to seriously consider each form of listening and consider honestly to yourself in this stressful environment, how many times in the day you can answer yes to actually listening to your child. So 1, active listening, giving your undivided attention to your child. Empathic listening, showing understanding on how your child is feeling. Comprehensive listening, understanding what your child is saying. And critical listening, listening for meaning, learning what is important for your child. Here are some tips on how to listen. The first thing is to be open-minded. Do not judge until later what your child has said, or your child may not want to talk to you about things in the future. This is really important, and it starts in early life. So if they've done something and they come to talk to you, it's something they shouldn't have done, spilt something or whatever, you know, just listen to what they're saying. Don't react. Don't judge about the act. Talk to them. And this sets the good foundations for, as they get older, that you are a turn-to person whenever they need to talk about things. You're there to listen for them. Show interest in what your child is saying. Watch your child's face and actions. They will show you your child's true feelings. Listen to your child's tone of voice. It may be the opposite of what they are saying. Example, shouting angry. I'm not angry. Or another one, whenever they are sad, saying, I'm not sad. You know, so all of these things, you need to be paying attention to them. Another interesting fact, actually, on listening, is that if you provide 5 minutes of attentive listening to your child, it is the equivalent of 40 minutes of inattentive listening. So I think the main thing here is, if you're busy, taking out the 5 minutes leads to far better results. Your child feels noticed and happy, and you have the other 35 minutes to focus on what it was you were trying to get done. So wee bit of learning there for someone who didn't used to do that. Now, the next thing we're going to move on to now is our non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication refers to the type of communication which does not involve speech. Babies and young children use a lot, sorry, I'm just going to have to, I thought the phones were off. Okay, so sorry about that. Non-verbal communication refers to the speech that involves no speech. Babies and young children use a lot of non-verbal communication, for example, eye contact, facial expressions, hand gestures, and body contact. Eye contact is one of the richest forms of non-verbal communication, and it is also the most common form of non-verbal communication interaction. Positive non-verbal communication has a positive impact on the parent-child relationship and enhances emotional connections. Negative non-verbal communication can make a child feel you do not want to spend time with them. A child learns so much from watching our non-verbal communication. In understanding this, we can be more sensitive to our child's needs and developments. So I'm going to get you to think back to the days when you could visit your friends and family. You know, you go into the house and suddenly you notice things aren't right. You could cut through the atmosphere with a knife. What does this mean? It's actually the power of non-verbal communication. So bearing this in mind, how much emphasis do you think we place on non-verbal communication? Based on all types of communication discussed, which do we pay heed to the most when people talk to us? So I'm going to share that with you now because I think this is just fascinating. When I learned this, I was so surprised. But when people talk to us, we absorb only 7% of what they are saying through the words they use. We take in 55% of the meaning from body language, gestures, posture, and physical cues, and 38% from the tone and inflections of the words they say. So in family life, it's not just the words we use, it's how we say them, how we're feeling. Babies don't understand the words we use yet. Babies and young children respond to our tone of voice, our gestures, body movement, facial expressions, and eye contact. Therefore, communication in the home is of the greatest importance. It facilitates a special bond between children and parents and carers. Children learn their sense of self and understand their importance in the world based on how we communicate with them. Communication allows children to think, plan, and problem solve, to ask questions, to share ideas and interests. The home environment is everything to children, especially at this moment in time. How we as adults communicate with our children is very important. So now I'm going to hand you over to Pauline, who will talk to us about the ages and stages of language development.
Thank you, Mary. I'll just share my screen. I'm sorry, it won't open up now. 1 minute. Oh, here we go. Right. Okay. Morning, everybody. My name's Pauline, and I'm going to talk to you today about language development in young children. Children's speech and language and communication skills begin to develop from their first days of life. Before they have the speech or the skills necessary to understand and express language, children learn to communicate with others in their environment. Although not speaking, a child is processing all the information around them, the familiar sounds and noises they hear, and in particular, your voice. Children's speech, language, and communication skills grow with their exposure to language, life experiences, and the communicative opportunities they are given. So it's very, very important that we give young children plenty of communicative opportunities. Children develop language at different rates. Understanding what is typical development can help you identify potential speech and language problems early. It can also help you to help your child learn to talk and to develop their communication skills. So what we're going to do this morning is look at the checklist for the development of language and communication in young children as they grow and develop. At 6 months, your child should have different cries for different needs. A different cry when it's hungry or when it's tired. Respond to different tones of voice and emotion as Mary indicated. Make sounds like cooing, gurgling, and babbling. Use coos or squeaks to get your attention. Turn towards a sound when they hear it. Be startled by loud noises. Watch your face when you talk to them. Recognize your voice. Smile and laugh when other people smile and laugh. Mouth toys, shake objects, play with hands and feet. Things to watch out for at 6 months. You should talk to your GP or health visitor if your baby is not at this stage startled by loud noises, does not engage in eye contact when spoken to, does not smile back at you smiling at them, does not watch your face with interest. These are things that at 6 months, you should just get checked out. By 12 months, your child should listen carefully and turn to someone talking on the other side of the room. Look at you when you speak and when their name is called. Make noises, point, and look at you to get your attention. Smile at people who are smiling at them. Start to understand words like bye-bye and up, especially when accompanied by a gesture. Recognize the names of familiar objects like bottle, cup, plate, etc. Babble strings of sounds, no, and go. These are your child's emerging first words. They should also understand object permanence. That is, they should know an object still exists even when they can't see it. Things to watch out for at 12 months. Talk to your GP or health visitor if your child does not respond to noises, does not point to the things they are interested in, does not try to gain your attention by making noises through eye contact, facial expressions, or reaching out. By 12 months, your child should enjoy listening to music and singing, moving the body as if to dance. Enjoy looking at simple picture books with you. Understand many more words than they can say, including the names of familiar objects. Understand simple questions and instructions. Where's Teddy, for example? Say up to 20 single words. Dada, dog. Use a lot of babble and single words when playing. And at this stage, they will be using a lot of babble. Sometimes it sounds as if they're trying to construct sentences, even though they're not using real words. Copy a lot of things they see adults doing, like bye-bye, and enjoy simple pretend play, feeding Dolly, for example. Things to watch out for at 18 months. Again, talk to your GP or health visitor if your child does not babble to communicate by 12 to 15 months, does not say their first words at around 18 months, does not appear to understand some of what you say to them by 18 months. By 2 years, your child should concentrate on activities for longer, that is, play activities, for example. Sit and listen to simple stories with pictures. Understand between 200 and 500 words. Understand simple questions and instructions. Where are your shoes? Show me your nose, for example. Copy sounds and words a lot. Use 50 or more recognizable single words. Start putting them into short sentences like bye, Nanny, or more juice. Enjoy pretend play with their toys. Let's feed the dolly, for example. But they'll still have difficulty with some sounds, such as P, B, T, D, M, and W sounds, and they might miss the ends of some words, but they can be understood about half the time. Some children by 2 years, they may still have difficulty developing language. It's a difficult enough process, and they may need extra help. So if by 2 years they are still slow to follow instructions, or not saying 25 recognizable words, you should seek some advice. By age 3, your child should listen to and remember simple stories with pictures. Understand longer instructions, like let's go and get your coat. Understand simple who, what, and where questions. They should be able to use up to 300 words and put 4 or 5 words together in short sentences, like he took my ball. They'll be asking lots of questions. They'll use action words like run and fall, as well as the names of things. And they will start to use simple plurals, like by adding s's. They will also use a wider range of speech sounds, but they still may shorten longer words, say nana for banana, for example, or they might have difficulty with some words like spider. They still may have problems with some sounds like sh, ch, th, or r. They will now play more with other children and share things. And sometimes it sounds as if they're stammering and stuttering, but don't worry about this. This is perfectly normal. Children by the age 3 want to say a lot, but they mightn't have the language for it. But it's better if you don't finish sentences for them or say things like take your time. Just give them the time. They'll get there. Things to watch out for age 3. Seek advice from a speech and language therapist if your child at this age consistently points or shows what they want rather than says what they want. Only uses single words instead of joining words together in short sentences. Is slow to respond to your instructions. Relies on being shown what to do rather than being told what to do. And if you cannot understand most of what they say. By age 4. Your child should understand and use colour and number and time related words such as red cars, 3 fingers, and so on. The child should start to be able to answer questions about why something has happened. Use longer sentences and link sentences together. For example, we went to the park and then to the shops. Describe events that have already happened. What happened this morning? Enjoy make-believe play. Start to like simple jokes, even if they don't fully understand them. Ask many questions using words like what, why, and why, what, where, and why. Start to be able to plan games with others. They'll still make mistakes, especially with grammar, things like run for ran or swim for swam, and they'll still have difficulty with some sounds like R's, W, L, F, TH, SH, CH, and J. Things to watch out for by 4 years. Seek advice again if your child is struggling to turn ideas into sentences. If the language they use is jumbled and difficult for you to understand, and if they are responsive, unresponsive, or slow to follow your instructions. By age 5. Children should understand spoken instructions without looking at the speaker. Now they're at the stage where they're choosing their own friends and playmates, and they take turns in much longer conversations. They understand more complicated language such as first, last, might, maybe, above, and in between. They understand words that describe sequences. For example, we went to the park and then to the shops. They use well-formed sentences. They may still have some difficulty with grammar, but they'll think more about the meanings of words and ask what new words mean. And they use sounds more effectively, though they still might have difficulty with some words. For example, elephant or scribble might still be difficult. Things to watch out for at the age of 5. For some children, developing communication can be a very difficult process and they may need extra help. They may have difficulty with abstract ideas such as size or time. If they have difficulty with complex sentences, not having the right words to be able to say what they want to say, they have difficulty organizing ideas in order, or they're missing out constantly on some words. Not using the right sounds, so their speech is difficult to understand. If you are worried at this stage, you should seek specialist advice. Now, to sum up, these are the developmental milestones for children between birth and 5 years. At 3 months, they should be cooing and gurgling. At 6 months, they'll be babbling. At 12 months, their first words will emerge. At 18 months, they should know 5 to 40 words. At 2 years, 150 to 300 words, and they're able to form 2 to 3 word sentences. By 3 years, they should know 900 to 1,000 words and ask short questions. At 4 years, they should know 2,000 words and be able to form 5+ word sentences. And by 5 years, they should be able to identify letters and create much longer sentences. Now, thank you. I'm going to pass you now on to Sharleen.
Thank you, Pauline. I'll just share my screen here with you. Everybody see that okay? Now, we're going to have a wee look now at the various activities that can help promote communication and language development. So, as Mary had said earlier, our spoken word is only 7%. The other 93% of communication is non-verbal. So that's 55% of your body language, which is gestures, eye contact, facial expression, your posture, all about how you present yourself. And then the remaining 38% is the tone of your voice, the pitch, whether you're loud, quiet, emotional, aggressive. It's all about how you sound. And active listening. Have you ever tried having a conversation with someone and they're constantly looking at their phone, checking out their nails, or staring out a window? It can be so frustrating and disheartening. You're fully engaged in what you believe to be a two-way conversation when you realize the person hasn't heard one word you've said. And then they turn around and say, "What was that? What did you say?" Do you feel like repeating yourself? Not a chance. This is the same for our kids, especially if they get so excited about all the things they want to talk about. We want our children always to be able to come to us with their news, whether it's exciting, sad, happy, worried. And just because it may be minor information to us, it can be huge for them. And if we listen to all the minor things with interest and respect while they're small, they will continue to confide in us when they get older, when the things really do matter. Now, we know it is impossible to be able to listen to absolutely everything, but it's just to be mindful, and even just to say, as Mary says, just give me a minute, and then I'm all yours. And it's all about building those all-important foundations in early years. So when to start communication? It's never too early to start talking to your baby. So why not talk to your bum? It's a great way to begin the bond with your baby. And by the 3rd trimester, a baby can recognize mum's voice. So why not include dad or siblings or other significant family members? Some people may feel a little uncomfortable talking to a bump, but it doesn't have to be about anything in particular. Just comment on everyday things that you're doing. You could read a story or sing a song. They won't care how you sound. Also, research has shown that a song that is repeatedly sung or played for the unborn baby can soothe them postnatally. So that's definitely a 1-1. Now, what parents say, what children hear. When we talk to our children, we assume they know what we're saying and what we mean. This isn't always the case. Children take just a little bit longer to process what is said or what we are asking them to do, and are much more literal. So when that little face looks up at you confused or just ignores you, it's not intentional. Well, most of the time. They may not understand or just hear something completely different. For those of us who aren't medically trained, and a doctor or nurse tells us about a condition and all its proper medical terms, and we look at them as if they're speaking a foreign language, we sometimes say, can you please tell me that in something I understand, or break it down so I can process this? This is just the same. Break it down. So just for a wee bit of fun now, we're going to do a little quiz. It's just a little multiple choice. I'm going to ask you a question and you can decide which it is you think your child hears. So it's just options A, B, and C. So if you feel free to put it onto the chat if you like, but I'm just not able to see it at the moment. So first one, you say to your child, don't do that. What is it your child hears? Don't do that, do it, or let's have some fun with mum. So what do you think? They hear, do it. Parent says, don't be stupid. The child hears, you're stupid, you can do this. I wonder what's for dinner. What else do you think the child hears? A, you're stupid. For example, if I say to you, don't think of a kangaroo, what's the first thing you're thinking of? A kangaroo. Exactly. Or you say to your friend, don't look there, Sue's just walked in. What's the first thing she does? Looks directly at Sue. So perhaps we could say it differently. We could say, can we do this a different way? What is it that you don't understand? Try to give positive instructions to your child. A child will not hear don't, and will hear your instructions differently. For example, don't bang the door. The child will just hear bang the door. Replace the instruction that relays what it is you want. Close the door gently. Thank you. Now, what a parent says, hurry up, be quiet, or stop. What is it the child hear? A, those are pretty flowers. B, I still have time. Or C, your wishes don't matter. What do you think? C, your wishes don't matter. What a parent says, how many times do I have to tell you? A child hears, A, you're a failure or a fool. B, just a few more. Or C, what did you say? A, you're a failure or you're a fool. So we can say, right, we have 10 minutes for you to finish up. Or how long do you need to finish your game? It's so important to give a child notice before finishing an activity. For example, it's 10 minutes, then it's time to go. And then 5 minutes later, you have 5 minutes left now. Imagine you're watching your favorite TV program or an important match. When someone comes on and switches off the TV, you certainly wouldn't be impressed. That's exactly the same. So it's nice to give your child the same courtesy. They may still object and not want to finish the game. But if you've given them a countdown, it's okay, then just carry it out. And after a few times of doing this consistently, they'll realize this is how it goes. So parent says, stop crying, there's nothing wrong with you. Child hears, let's watch TV. It's good to express your emotions or your feelings don't matter. See, your feelings don't matter. It's the same as calm down. Never does anyone just say, okay, when told to calm down. Emotions don't have a magic switch that can be turned on and off. And it's good to express your emotions. It helps us regulate, and a good cry can make us feel better, especially if there's someone there to offer reassurance. So a parent says, big boys don't cry. So what is it the child hears? It's okay for girls to cry, but boys are different. B, it's good to cry. Or C, is it okay to shout instead? So they hear A, it's okay for girls to cry, but boys are different. So we can say, what is it you're frightened of? You're tired, aren't you? Come and tell me what's wrong. So what kind of message is that sending to our boys? Of course, it's okay for boys to cry. Mental health is a huge issue with men of all ages today. And perhaps if we teach our boys to communicate, express emotions, and share their feelings, this will improve. Now, so parent says, don't have anything to do with those people. The child hears, don't trust those people. Everyone is equal. Can we go to the park? So what do you think? A, don't trust those people. So parent says, they are different from us. The child hears, can I play on your phone? Difference is good. Difference is bad. Be afraid. Yeah, C, difference is bad. Be afraid. So say it differently. Look after yourself. Be careful. Or all people are the same, even though we might love or behave differently. It's as if we put people into boxes according to their cultures, colours, or religion, and labelling them with a particular stereotype. We are all human. It is our beliefs or how we behave that makes us different. And sometimes it is lack of knowledge that causes fear or an unreasonable perception of some people. Again, communication and understanding can significantly reduce or eliminate this fear. There are no two people the same. Even siblings have completely different personalities. So always be mindful as to how we treat others, and both verbally and non-verbally, as this will be imitated by our children. So 10 things your child needs to hear. I love you. I'm listening to you. You can do this. I'm proud of you. I want what's best for you. I'm grateful for you. I'm sorry. I forgive you. I'm always here for you. Just do your best. Now, just remember these 4 steps for communication. Use clear, consistent, positive communication. Guide your child's understanding with kindness and honesty. As I said, use active listening. Children copy whatever they see. So model being an active listener, which demonstrates interest and respect for your child. Be careful what you say. Children also copy what they hear. So be measured and careful in your use of language that is respectful to people, traditions, cultures that are different. Get clear yourself of your own inner parent. And that is the messages we carry from our own childhood may affect all of our communications. So, special time. As we discussed in our last webinar for self-esteem, special time is also a wonderful way to aid communication and language. This is where it is just one-to-one time with your baby and child. It is recommended that we have 10 to 15 minutes of special time every day where the child takes the lead. He or she can choose the game or activity within reason, and this shows them how important and valued they are, where they have our undivided attention. Again, we know this is difficult with all the daily household chores, work, other siblings getting in the way. But even if it's just bedtime where you can be together and talk, share a story, just enjoy being together and really connect. It's a fantastic opportunity to develop speech and language. Talk about all the things you're doing. If it's with your baby, copy their sounds and develop them and continue to add words. For example, if your child says car, repeat green car, and then to further develop small green car. This is scaffolding their learning and building their vocabulary. Even around the home, comment on everything as if you're reporting on a live sporting event. or describing things for a person who's blind. This all promotes language. Every type of play activity encourages language development if we just keep talking. Songs and stories. These are a fantastic way to develop language. There are just so many benefits. It helps them put sentences together, creates an enormous word bank, develops listening skills that is essential for social development, encourages imagination, and can help to problem solve everyday issues that they may encounter. Songs are also a great way to help them remember words, the sounds, the repetitive nature and fun factor all contribute to learning. Family time. Meal times are a wonderful way of developing communication and social skills. It teaches our kids all the social cues necessary to communicate and build relationships, all the while developing speech and language. It's a great opportunity for questions, answers, and discussions. Car journeys or being out and about is also an excellent opportunity to develop these skills. You can play games such as I Spy, coloured cars, yes or no game, Simon Says. This can teach them all to follow instructions, enhance their working memory, and give endless prospects for supporting language with less distractions. Bath times can also introduce new vocabulary and concepts. All of these times you're in the one place and have the child's attention, so make the most of it to have these conversations. Things to avoid. Overuse of dummies. Dummies can impair or delay speech. Some children may be reluctant to remove the dummy to speak or try to stick the dummy in their mouth, causing them to pronounce words incorrectly. So always remove the dummy, ideally before they're forming their sentences. Speaking or answering for them. Let your child use their words and give them every opportunity to speak. For example, give them choices and let them answer. So do you want to wear your blue t-shirt or your yellow t-shirt? Baby talk. Sometimes when our kids begin to talk, they pronounce words differently, which can be so funny or cute. For example, gaga for granny, or nana, banana. Try to repeat the word correctly and eventually they will get it right. And avoid too much screen time. Screens are a huge part of our lives now and it's almost impossible to avoid it. There are some great benefits such as keeping in touch with family or maybe getting 5 minutes to grab a well-needed cuppa, but it is no substitute for what your child can learn from you and others around them. All children develop at different stages, so try not to stress too much, or as Pauline has said, contact your health professional if you have concerns. Other ways to help include building up those muscles in the mouth and tongue that allow us to form the words. We can do this by blowing bubbles as it involves many muscles. Food that isn't pureed or requires them to chew. This also contributes to building muscles. Mouth exercises. This can be fun. Get them to mirror your actions or do it in front of a mirror themselves, such as wide open, closed, tight, tongue out. If a child has difficulty pronouncing words, or even just for fun, use some tongue twisters, such as the big blue beautiful balloon burst. There is nothing like interaction with peers to help all areas of development. Socializing with other kids will immensely develop their language. Communication, however it is done, is the key to human interaction. So just keep talking. Now we're going to go over to Mary, who has some information on screen time. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, me again. I just noticed that we probably will go a few minutes over the hour here, so we're hoping that you'll be able to stick along because we do want to have at least a couple of the questions answered that we received earlier this week from you. So I'm going to go into my share screen now and I will talk to you about screen time. Just let me know if you can see that. Brilliant. Now, this is a really important one. Like you couldn't talk about communication, especially the team here with SOC and Livestock, because it's something that comes up quite a lot around communication. So screens, of course, were developed for communication. TV, computers, tablets, smartphones, and more children's toys like DVD players for cars, restaurants, all are types of communication devices. But how they're used can have both positive and negative outcomes. Unfortunately, screens do not enhance language development in young children. And according to leading medical professionals, too much screen time for babies and young children leads to shorter attention spans, an inability to control their impulses, and it lowers empathy in children for others. We have all seen it. Screens captivate babies, toddlers, and children like nothing else can. The important message from all these leading experts is that babies and toddlers need humans, not screens. So what is a healthy amount of screen time based on age for younger children? And I'm sorry, the news is not good. The World Health Organization and all leading health experts recommend that babies and children up to ages of 2 years should not have any or very limited time on screens. Now, during the pandemic and things like that there, it is okay for video calls because you have that serve and return, you have the conversations. In fact, it's the way that most new grandchildren and grandparents have been interacting. So that virtual video calls and photos are okay with regards to our screens. For children then aged 2 to 5, they should spend no more than 1 hour a day on screens. Recent research has found that babies and young children up to the age of 5 who spend 2 or more hours on screens are 8 times more likely to develop ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Remember, screens are all devices, not just devices that we use for the internet. So it includes children's gadgets and TVs and DVD players. Everything that has a screen is referred to as screens. There's no difference between them all. So it doesn't matter if your child is watching an educational DVD or playing a game, screen time is screen time. When children are young, we actually have a great opportunity to develop good screen time and online habits. It is much more difficult to address unhealthy online use when children reach the pre-teen years. And remember when I talked earlier about how children learn their communication skills from us? This also includes their screen time and online activity. I know it is something that I had to keep in check during the pandemic, as we all had to embrace the online world. But as a parent, we do need to set an example of what is healthy. And another thing we need to be mindful of too is what we are doing online with regards to our children's rights. A new word has evolved about the online activity of parents with regards to what they share about their children online. So sharenting, I'm not sure if you have heard of it before, but some sharenting facts. 71% of parents upload 5 or more images of their child each week on social media. 21% of parents have set up a social media account for their children. I think 23% of children between the ages of 8 and 12 actually have a social media account, even though in order to have a social media account, you have to be over 13 years of age. 13% share photos of their children to gain more social media followers. And 32% of parents have never asked their child if it's okay to share a photo with them. This is just some food for thought. Sharenting is about all the stuff we share online about our children. Do you know if you want to share a photo of anyone, you must get their permission, including children. There are many children in older life now who are actually suing parents for all the information they shared online. So it might be an area you might want to consider about later on if you are a parent who shares. Also, if anyone takes a photo of your child, you have the right to ask them to take it down. And the same about yourself. No one has the right to share pictures of you online without your permission or information about you. Now, it is with sadness that I kind of say this, there are so many children out there who have a huge digital footprint or digital fingerprint, whichever you prefer to use, before they've even learned to write their own name. You know, that is mind-boggling when you think of it. We have a wonderful blog, actually it was written by Veronica, who's part of the team also here at SOC, on internet awareness for young children on our website. It is just www.lifestarfoundation.org. If you go to that, and then you can just go into our parenting tips. And finally, I'm just going to finish up on screen time with a sobering thought with regards to those who develop technology. So Silicon Valley is where so many of the masterminds behind all the technology we use on a day-to-day basis live. It is now known that many of these developers are bringing their children up tech-free because of the growing evidence on how it negatively impacts on the developing brain of children. So I'm going to be taking you far away now from the world of technology, and I'm going to hand you over to Lynn, who is going to give us our introduction now to baby reflexology.
Well, hi everyone. I hope you enjoy this short video of baby reflexology. And in terms of, communicating with your baby and even your toddlers, and this is an amazing way to communicate without spoken word with your baby, and also share that special time that Sharleen said about. So I hope you enjoy it. Of baby reflex. Baby reflex is reflexology for babies and young children, created to assist parents with the well-being of their child and to strengthen the loving bond. Baby reflex is specially adapted reflexology for parents or for babies and toddlers that can be carried out by the parent or caregiver. It's been adapted to suit the needs of babies and toddlers, and it was developed in the UK by the name of a lady called Jenny Lee, who was a chartered physiotherapist, reflexologist and teacher, who specialised in working with mothers and young children. Over 15 years she carried out pilot studies involving children and GPs, designed to examine specifically the benefits of reflexology on childhood asthma. Her results were so encouraging that Jenny developed the concept of baby reflex. It can be used from 4 weeks onwards, and it's recommended not to carry out baby reflex for at least 48 hours after baby vaccinations. Baby reflex is a complementary therapy and does not take the place of conventional medical care or medical advice or recommendations. A few of the main benefits of baby reflex are: it helps to promote gentle touch, which in turn helps to improve the bond between parents and babies. It is gentle and calming for your baby. It promotes better sleep patterns. It allows a greater ability to relax. All children enjoy their treatments. Baby reflex is portable. It can be done anywhere, and there's no requirement to remove clothes or to use oils. So today we're going to be looking at the feeding and digestive system. Okay, so before I move on into that, I would like to just put up this. This is going to be a wee ready reckoner for you. Apologies if it's back to front, as it's the camera. You can take a wee screenshot of this on your phone, so that you'll have it to refer to whenever you want to carry out your own treatments on baby. Now, if you didn't manage to get the screenshot, if you let us know your email, and we'll be more than happy to send it out to you via email, and you can try it with baby at home. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the main part. So I hope you can see baby's feet here. So normally we would start on baby's right foot. So this is a useful area for calming, and if you can see, I'm working just in at that wee web there below the pad of the big toe. And we're going to work that. There's 3 lines coming down, and we're going to work that 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And 1, 2, and 3. This area involves the vagus nerve. Stroking here can be very beneficial to young babies who have problems with their feet and especially with reflux, which can be caused by an immature vagus. This nerve carries the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nerve supply to the heart, lungs, stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, spleen, small intestine, and the first half of the large intestine. Its function is to help coordinate normal digestion and metabolism in the body. So remember, it's just below the pad of the big toe, stroking downwards. 3 movements downwards and carry it out for 3 repetitions. So next we're going to look at the immune boosters to help prevent infection and speed up the body's healing process. So we're going to make 1 circular movement in the webbed area between each toe. And we're going to work all points 3 times. So that's 1, 2, and this is 2, and 3. So to help relieve the symptoms of mild baby asthma and croup, we're going to pinch lightly between the webbing of the toes. We're going to hold and draw our fingers up. Pinch, hold and draw our fingers up. Pinch, hold, draw the fingers up. Pinch, hold and draw the fingers up. So we'll repeat that 3 times in each of the webbed areas between the toes. So that helps relieve the symptoms of mild baby asthma and croup. And this is part of the lymphatic drainage. So now we're going to look at the immune booster, the total immune booster, which is thymus. We're going to work on it, and it's situated in the middle of the chest. So if you can see here, the ball of the foot, and this is the chest area. Okay, so in the middle of that is the thymus gland. So, and that's another good immune booster. And that's just in the ball of the foot, in the middle, and that's the thymus gland. So now we're going to look at reflux and the easing of acid indigestion. So we're going to use light circular movements on the stomach area. So that's the chest area. Now this is the stomach area. So just in here at the inner part of the middle of the foot. And that's 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And then we're going to slip on down just the dip before you come to the heel, just in this area. And this is to ease colic and to calm the congested area. So we're going to start in this area and we're going to move up the ascending column, and we're moving over the transverse column, and we're going to jump across to the left foot, transverse column, move across, and descending column. So again, the right foot, ascending column, move over the transverse column, jump to the left foot, transverse column, and the descending column. And for the third time, ascending column, ascending column, okay, ascending column, transverse column, jump over to the left, transverse column, and descending column. Okay, so ascending, transverse, transverse, and descend. Okay, so treating this area sometimes can have an immediate effect on baby's elimination process, so just be careful. You could get a really nice surprise. So we're just going to finish this first session. Now remember, what you did on the right foot, you will also do on the left foot. And that was your, remember, 3 strokes just below the pad of the big toe, your web between each wee toe, circular movements, and then your pinch, hold and draw, pinch, hold and draw, and pinch, hold and draw. A succession of 3. And your stomach, that wee circle, that's the chest area, remember, and this is the stomach area and this inner part of the foot. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to finish the session by pressing, now we're not up here, do you remember that was the thymus gland, the immune boosters was up in the chest, so we're going to move to this wee dip just below the chest and at the top of the stomach, and this is known as the solar plexus, and this creates a calming effect for baby. So even if that's the only treatment or movement that you can find time to do with your baby, that's a very useful one and can be used anywhere. Okay, well, thank you very much for tuning in to our first session, and I look forward to seeing you for our next session, which will be on sleeping and comforting. So thank you very much for tuning in today, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks so much, Lynn. That was really lovely. We are running a bit behind time, so we've had a great deal of interest in this particular webinar. So we've lots of questions, but I'm just going to deal with 2 because we're running out of time. Judith says, I have a 19-month-old son who is not talking, just non-stop babbling. Is this normal, and how can I encourage him to talk? Well, children develop at different rates, and some children, the developmental checklist I give you was just a typical checklist for a typical child, but your little boy seems to be pretty near the 18 months. So, and at 18 months, a child is babbling a lot. So as I said in my presentation, he's probably babbling and trying to form sentences, but not using real words. But you've nothing to be concerned about. This is perfectly normal. So how can you support his language development? Looking at your child when you're talking to them, that's important. And this is easier to do if you get down to their level or lift them up to yours so you're face to face. As Sharleen says, talk to your child in short, simple sentences. This helps them understand what you're saying and then gives them an opportunity to copy some of your words. Follow their lead when you're playing with them and talk to them about what interests them. Repeat the words often. Children need to hear words very many times before they can say them correctly. And as you know, they'll want you to read the same story over and over again. Talk to your child doing normal things around the house. Repeat back what you think your child means when they don't have the words to say what they mean. And as Sharleen says, also give your child choices when you're talking to them. For example, when they want a drink, you could say, do you want a milk or juice? Then they have to respond. Or also, as Mary says, you can encourage and support them to also use non-verbal communication to support their language. Your child should soon begin to use recognizable words. I would suggest you do the things that we've recommended here this morning, and if you don't see an improvement within the next couple of months, then you could seek professional advice. But I don't think you have anything to worry about. Now, Kate says, what causes speech and language delays? Well, this is a difficult one. Sometimes delays can be caused by a medical problem, such as deafness. Now, this is why we encourage you to observe your child in those first months of life and its response to noise. And if it isn't responding, then you need to seek medical advice. Or it could be some other problem, such as autism. But it's often just the way a particular child's brain is wired. Some children just need a little bit of help. There's a common misconception about speech and language. Some people think that a child that needs help maybe isn't as bright as some other children. This is not the case. Very, very many bright children may need help with speech and language development. In fact, many students who are classified as highly gifted have had speech therapy. But again, children develop at different rates, so just give them a little bit of time. And if you are concerned, then seek medical advice or specialist advice. Now, I'm going to pass you back to Mary, who's going to finish off today's session.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself there. Any messages that are questions that haven't been answered, we will get back to you. So, okay, we do have your email address when you set up to register for the webinar. So don't be panicking if we haven't answered your question. We will get back to you later on. So I just want to remind you that we did promise you 2 booklets if you joined for today's webinar. So we have our booklet on communication and language development and our beautiful little booklet that celebrates diversity through nursery rhymes. For those of you who want them, if you could just pop an email to me, you will have it through the registration for your webinar and your little reminder. But if in case you need it again, it's just mary.holmes@lifestartfoundation.org. Send me your full name and your postal address, and we will get these books out to you by the end of the week, okay? The other thing is I want to remind you about our 5th webinar in our series of Life, Family, Fun and Living Through a Pandemic. It is on June 15th, and again, we'll be having a morning session and an evening session to suit parents, to suit use, and you can join whichever one you want to join in at. So if you want to just keep an eye out for that as well. So that is the end of our webinar today. We really hope you got something from it. We enjoy working with you, albeit in a way that doesn't feel connected as such, but hopefully we'll see you on June 15th. And remember, just pop me a wee email and we'll get the booklets out to you. So thank you so much for joining today, and we'll hopefully see you soon.